The eldest son of the Graves family, and one of the two titular protagonists of the Coffin of Andy and Leyley. Andrew Graves has a toxic, codependent relationship with his sister, Leyley. Their bond is extremely dysfunctional, often crossing into disturbing behaviors like violence, threats of suicide, murder, incest, and even cannibalism. They enable each other's madness, which keeps spiraling further into darkness. Andrew himself is sardonic and cynical, often responding with sarcasm or frustration, especially when dealing with his sister. He finds her incredibly annoying, and being trapped with her only makes his resentment grow. Despite this, Andrew and Leyley collaborate in malicious ways. Together, they manipulate and murder other characters to ensure their own survival and escape. At first, Andrew appears to be a victim of Leyley's abuse. But as the story progresses, we learn that he's far worse than she is. He has no morals or empathy. He only cares about keeping up appearances. He panics when he feels like there will be consequences, but other than that, he has no real concern for anyone around him. The one thing their parents' neglect has affected in Andrew is how he hides his true self. He plays the role of the responsible parent, a role his mother, Renee, placed on him. While Leyley is erratic and completely dependent on him, Andrew manipulates her dependency to his advantage. He knows she doesn't return his feelings, but he also knows that she will do anything to stop him from leaving her. Ashley exhibits sociopathic and antisocial traits throughout the game. She feels little to no remorse after committing violent acts like murder and cannibalism. She's verbally violent and shows complete apathy toward others' feelings. Even as a child, Ashley murdered Nina after discovering she had a crush on her brother, Andrew. She also harassed Julia for dating him, which led to their breakup. When she tries to justify her actions, Ashley looks for ways to shift blame. For example, she claims killing the hitman wasn't an issue because he was carrying knives, ignoring the fact that she and her brother were responsible for his death with a guard's gun. Ashley has an unhealthy obsession with Andrew. She'd do anything to keep him by her side, including killing those closest to them or indulging his desires, whether romantic or sexual. She became heavily reliant on him after their parents neglected her. This dependency turns into hatred or disregard for anyone who interferes with her or Andrew's life, even considering their deaths as suitable solutions. Like Andrew, Ashley is codependent on her brother, which fuels their toxic relationship. Their interactions often escalate into extreme territory, with long discussions about the crimes they've committed. However, Ashley's confident, carefree attitude annoys Andrew, and their arguments are frequent, with tensions always high. Despite not having romantic or sexual feelings for him, Ashley expects Andrew to meet all her needs and will go to extreme lengths to keep him around. Much of Renee's personality is shaped by how her children remember her and how she addresses them in episode 2. To Andrew and Ashley, she appears neglectful, always busy, and rarely affectionate. However, the small amount of warmth she shows is reserved for Andrew, never extending to Ashley. Renee has internalized the belief that Ashley was a difficult child, and she holds this belief even into adulthood, especially after a past incident. She's also a skilled manipulator, acting sorry with Andrew while remaining cold and distant toward Ashley. Though Andrew eventually realizes how cruel his mother truly is, Ashley seems indifferent, though their mother's manipulation is incredibly convincing. Renee gave birth to Andrew when she was just 15, and 2 years later, she had Ashley. She and her husband moved into a 2-bedroom apartment to raise their children. Since she was busy, she relied on Andrew to take care of young Ashley, considering him responsible. However, her opinion of her children, especially Ashley, changed after the death of Ashley's classmate and friend. Before the events of the game, Renee and Mr. Graves stayed at a hotel, leaving Andrew and Ashley in quarantine. Renee refused to answer Ashley's calls and even apologized to her after saying goodbye. In episode 2, Andrew and Ashley discover that their death certificates were processed at the start of the quarantine. Renee explains that a surgeon declared her children dead, and she and her husband were able to collect life insurance payouts. Using the life insurance money, Renee and her husband bought a new house in a pleasant neighborhood. Julia was a childhood friend of Ashley and Nina, and she had a long-standing crush on Andrew. Among all the characters in the series, she was arguably the most normal. She simply wanted to be with Andrew out of genuine affection. However, she ended up entangled in the family's complicated drama. We later learned that Andrew asked Julia out to quell rumors at school, suggesting he and Ashley were romantically involved. While the plan worked to stop the gossip, it backfired in other ways. Ashley disapproved of the relationship, and her disapproval grew into hostility. Eventually, Ashley verbally abused Julia over the phone. When Andrew failed to defend Julia, it became the breaking point for their relationship, leading to their eventual breakup. Mr. Graves' personality is largely shaped by how his children view him and how he interacts with them, especially when compared to his interactions with his wife in episode 2. To Andrew, Mr. Graves has always been a pushover and struggled with active suicidal thoughts. Ashley shares this impression, but also recognizes that her father cares for Mrs. Graves enough to try to scold her or stop her from taking Mrs. Graves's blood. Overall, Mr. Graves has a phlegmatic, meek personality. Very little is known about him, not even his approximate age. He and Mrs. Graves had Andrew when she was only 15, and 2 years later, they had Ashley. The family moved into a 2-bedroom apartment where Mr. and Mrs. Graves worked, leaving Andrew to essentially raise himself and Ashley. Before the events of the game, Mr. and Mrs. Graves stayed at a hotel instead of joining Andrew and Ashley in quarantine. In episode 2, Andrew and Ashley learn that their death certificates were processed at the start of the quarantine. Mrs. Graves reveals that they were referred to a surgeon who declared their children dead. Mr. and Mrs. Graves used the life insurance payout from their children's alleged deaths to buy a new house in a pleasant neighborhood. There, they begin to grow a vegetable garden in their backyard and oversee house renovations. The entity is a powerful being that was once human. Now it survives by feeding on human souls. Andrew and Ashley accidentally discover it while quarantined in their apartment. In exchange for providing them with sustenance, the entity demands souls. It primarily interacts with Ashley, forging a dark pact with her. However, in episode 3, we learn that Andrew has a connection to a different, more terrifying demonic being, one he encountered in childhood but had long since forgotten. This memory resurfaces when Andrew unintentionally summons the creature while collecting souls as part of Ashley's deal. Unlike Ashley's entity, Andrew's demon is far more monstrous in appearance, yet it seems to have a protective intent. Instead of seeking to consume his soul, it appears to genuinely want to help him.